applications, to make it stand out, what people are usually inclined to is either they want to show in some sort of voluntary activity, NGO activity, or something like that, or else another option that they have is probably get someone to make up some good story out of them. So in those cases, I don't know how true the story would be, or probably they collect some facts from the students and create a great story that shows up the candidate as a whole. But still that I'm not in a position to understand, is it right just for the sake you have a dream to complete your MBA or do your MBA for your personal goals, whatever it is, just to make it or to make your application stand out, you want to show up something which you are not actually. I mean, but it falls into a common set of students, right? I mean, if you are an IT applicant or a software developer or something, there are numerous applicants. So and you know how it is. Basically, you wouldn't get an hour time to do some extra thing that usually B schools look for. But
Right.
still somehow you cook up some stories and put it forward. So do you really think it's important to add that kind of X factor into your application?
So good question, actually. So first of all, the reason, okay, it's most very important to understand why do colleges look for that, right? Why do they really look for, so they're trying to look for multi-dimensionalities. You are not a unidimensional person in the sense, I have an engineer, I have done an IT job, or I have done a manufacturing job. I'm just doing that, and that, right? So why do you need a multifaceted nature, right? You need it because you get different perspectives if you have different sides of yourself. Like for example, it's very well known, right? Let's say you're studying, you're working, let's say in an IT job. Then you suddenly go in the evenings to set up a music band, or you were kind of serving someone in some small community center, right? You're teaching some kids. So what does that really do to you, right? It's not just for the, as in hindsight, right? In hindsight, because I did all those as well, not because I was wanting to apply for an MBA or something. I somehow happened to kind of do them. And in hindsight, when I think about it, they did bring in a different perspective of how to think, right? What are the various different ways of thinking about a given situation? Like, for example, if you're trying to coach someone, unless you've gone to the lowest level to understand, to put yourself in their shoes on the questions that they ask, they make you think. Like, for example, I taught some kids in a poor village in my own experience. And the issue that, I was at a different level, but the questions that they were asking, the way I was communicating with them was so different that they were not able to understand what I was trying to communicate. So I had to really learn the process of stepping down to their level and starting to communicate with them so that they appreciate the teaching that I was imparting in them. So why do you need a multifaceted personality? Is because you've seen different facets of life and different ways of communicating your own perspective so that it gets communicated and gets well received. Or different ways of handling a given situation. Those are the things that people are looking for. So leadership, flexibility, ability to adapt to something that is totally new, and still being enterprising, right? So these are all the qualities. So then you might ask the question, why do I need an MBA if I have all that? So that's a difficult question to answer. But what they're looking for is they're looking for instances of those characteristics or traits that you can actually go down. So when you're looking into when you're running an organization, for example, right? You have different people of different capabilities and different backgrounds. So do you have the openness to kind of accept the views that people give? Or do you have the ability to communicate with people at different levels? Because that's when you will be seen as a leader, right? You are able to connect with everybody. So unless you have done that in your life, how can I know that you have experienced it in some way or the other? So they are not looking for a fully made person, but they are looking for those facets where people have tried to do certain different things or different things in their life and been able to kind of derive some excellence out of it. They have improved someone, they have improved themselves, they have improved an organization, they have improved a team. It can be anything. So that is why you need those. Now to go to your question, cooking up or making up something, I would never suggest that. But what I would definitely suggest is when you start looking deep into your, I have seen in all the cases where I have successfully helped candidates apply for international MBAs and get those admits. I have seen in all those cases that even though they were not probably involved in like a social cause, if they had looked deep down into their own personal life, they have had instances where they have shown or demonstrated these traits.
Yes.
So I would always suggest students to actually take a deep look into their own lives, how they have actually tried to kind of help someone or do something totally different, which is away from their studies or regular sports, etc. So those are the things that you need to. If you don't have any of those, then yes, then I would suggest genuinely go and do something. Not because you're applying for an MBA, but because that will help you in some way, right? I have seen this in my own personal life, but also in people that I have, for example, coached, or my own friends, how they have evolved after doing certain things which are totally unrelated from job or studies. So, so that is my answer, longish answer to your question. I hope it communicates.
Yes, it does answer the question. So this clearly indicates, like, probably even though you are too mainstreamed, basically, I mean, you don't have any other activities, but still I think 20-25 years is something where people usually apply to B schools, right? So around 25, 26, 27. So probably there must be something that they have done.
They would have definitely done something. Absolutely, they would have done something in their life which is totally different from work and studies. I'm sure. As in, you have to look deep down. That is the most important thing. Introspect what you really did in your life, right? And if after all the introspection you can't find anything, then yes, you have to go create something for yourself.